and eventually they see something that they get so passionate about. The software isn't built, it's not ready, it's not finished, we don't have any customers, we have no case studies, and yet they sign a contract for a £1 million annual recurring revenue deal for what they saw. And I firmly believe it wasn't because I'm the world's best designer and this thing looked amazing. It didn't. I was doing the demos with Google Sheets. It looked awful. It wasn't because we had the best tech. Our tech didn't work. It wasn't the fastest in the market, and it definitely wasn't the cheapest in the market. The reason they signed is because they felt understood and heard. In today's video, in today's session, we're going to be going through the story of how I closed a $1 million contract with a SaaS demo. And I'm going to be telling you all about what you guys are currently doing wrong in your demos and how we can actually improve your demo process to close you similar size deals. That's my intention. Most founders are absolutely stuck in doing demos that don't convert, and they definitely do not delight customers in any way, shape, or form. I call them selfish demos. It is when you turn up to a sales call and all you care about is what you want, what you need, and making that sale at all costs. I learned from my time doing cold calling every single day for 5 years that you can never sell anyone anything that they do not want to be sold. And we need to not be selfish, and we need to be in a service-based mindset. I call it selfish sales because most of you in your product demos are having one-way communications, one-way conversations. You get into that demo and you load up your software, you run them through it, and you speak and speak and speak. And I know the irony of me complaining of speaking too much. I speak a lot, but I'm not selling to you right now. I'm trying to educate you. Most of you are doing this wrong. It should be a two-way conversation between you and your potential customers. It is an incredible opportunity for you to learn about their deepest needs and pain points. And if you get this right, you're going to get the ability to close $1 million deals. I want to tell you the story about this just so that, you know, as I go through this framework, this isn't me pulling it out of thin air. I stumbled upon this process. I stumbled upon this way of doing demos precisely because of my unique combinations of having been a recruiter that then fell into being a product manager. Okay, I was given a product to product manage that had £400,000 spent on it in terms of development. We had one customer who refused to pay for that product. And it was my neck on the chopping block. If I did not make that product work, if I did not get sales, I was going to get fired. And I quite liked my job at that time, so I did not want to get fired. So I just did what I knew how to do best from being a recruitment salesperson. I started reaching out to people and making asks. I asked them for meetings. I asked them to show them things, early concepts. We talk about this on this channel, in this group, all of the time, that you can show off your early concepts, your early visions, and you can make sales before the product exists. This is exactly what I did here. But because I was a user experience designer, what I was most interested in, weirdly, the pressure was on, but I wasn't so concerned about making sales at that time because I really believed that if the product was incredible, it would sell itself. I'd been so scarred from my time doing that cold calling and being a recruitment consultant. I had a really bad relationship with sales. I felt icky about it. I hated it. And quite frankly, I didn't want to do it anymore. So in my mind, I wasn't selling, but 5 years of being a salesperson and a really good performing salesperson, that just comes, that becomes a habit, right? So I started to demo the software to people, but mostly what I was interested in, it wasn't showing them what we had because I knew what we had was really bad. I was interested in feedback, in a two-way conversation. I invited them in to tell me about what problems they really wanted solving, where they were most frustrated, and where our software currently were not meeting their expectations. And the weirdest thing happened, right? We get into a huge proposal process with Welsh Gov. We are pitching or demoing this software to group after group after group of stakeholders within that organization. And eventually they see something that they get so passionate about. The software isn't built, it's not ready, it's not finished, we don't have any customers, we have no case studies, and yet they sign a contract for a £1 million annual recurring revenue deal for what they saw. And I firmly believe it wasn't because I'm the world's best designer and this thing looked amazing. It didn't. I was doing the demos with Google Sheets. It looked awful. It wasn't because we had the best tech. Our tech didn't work. It wasn't the fastest in the market, and it definitely wasn't the cheapest in the market. The reason they signed is because they felt understood and heard. They felt that as an organization, we knew above every single other person that was also pitching from other companies, from our other big competitors, we were the ones that actually stopped and listened. We were the ones that had a two-way conversation, not a one-way pitch. And they even mentioned this in the post kind of deal process where we were talking about everything they're most excited for. They said, you guys asked us questions. Everyone else just pitched us, right? So this is what I'm going to teach you to do. I'm going to teach you how to close these deals by asking great questions. You know I love questions. If I'm going to be doing this today and giving you this education, I need to teach you two things. I need to tell you why selfish sales sucks. And you are all selfish salespeople in this room. I'm guaranteeing you right now. If you are not making sales if you are not making as many sales as you want, where you have more customers coming into your pipeline than you can handle, it's probably because you're being a selfish salesperson. And then I'm going to tell you the 4 Ds of effective demos. You know I love a bit of alliteration here, and I've distilled down this process into a 4-step framework that you can use for every single product demo that you have going forward. And I want to hear all of the stories in the Founders Forum group about big deals you've closed and big contracts you've solved by using the 4 Ds of effective demos. Okay, so selfish sales sucks. What do I mean here? I want to tell you a little bit about the golden rule of sales. I think one of the places that a lot of you hindering your progress as salespeople is that you have a wrong belief around what sales is. You think that you can pitch someone and convince them against their own will that they're going to need what you've got and buy what you do. That is impossible. Okay, the golden rule of sales is you can't sell anything to anyone who doesn't want to be sold, barring holding a gun to someone's head or committing some kind of fraud, which both are illegal. Please, no one in this group be doing that. If they don't want your product, they won't buy it. They might nod on the call. They might tell you it's absolutely amazing. They might absolutely pretend that they're going to rebook that follow-up call in, or they're definitely going to respond to that proposal you're going to say to them. But if you're breaking the golden rule of sales and you are trying to force the sale, and the more you try and force the sale, the less of an honest reaction you get back from your potential customers. They just lie to your face for an easy time. And if you think about this, you've all done it when you've been cornered into a sales process that you didn't want to be in. Right? I guarantee you have all lied and said, I'm really interested in that, and never followed up on it again. Okay? So stop breaking the golden rule of sales. Stop trying to convince and cajole people into making purchases, and instead do the actual job of a salesperson and be a clarifying force in that person's life. Okay? Your job as a salesperson is to listen more than you speak. The reason you have 2 ears and 1 mouth is because you're supposed to use them in that proportion. I am forever having my primary school teachers moaning, ringing around in my head for me talking too much. Still never fixed me. But I have this going around in my head on every sales call. I know if I'm doing more listening and asking more great questions and sitting back and letting them do the vast majority of the talking, then I am doing a good job as a salesperson, because I'm allowing them to articulate their needs, to articulate their pain points and their frustrations. And I need to listen to those deeply. And my job on that call is to essentially be a kind of combination of a therapist and a mirror. Okay, I'm supposed to diagnose and understand their problems through questioning, and then repeat back to them what I have heard to make sure that I've absolutely understood that. So if you are conducting your demos and you do the vast majority of the talking, you've got this back to front. You're creating an experience where someone is sat there and they're thinking, I think this demo could have just been a video that was sent to me via email. What's the point of doing a live demo to a customer or an investor if you don't allow them to interact with you? If you don't allow it to be a way for you to discover their needs and their problems, okay? I want to illustrate this to you with a little example here. If you went to the doctors, you got a headache, you got a migraine, it's been going on for weeks and you're getting a bit worried about it. You turn up at the doctor's office, your head is thumping. You sit down in that chair, and before you say anything, the doctor starts going, right, I can see what's wrong with you here. We're going to have to amputate that leg. It's got to go. We're going to have to saw that thing off. Let's get you into surgery right away. We're going to cure everything that's wrong with you. You would be scrambling for the door so fast because you would feel like you hadn't had a chance to explain why you're even there. That doctor has dived into prescribing what's wrong with you before you've even had a chance to articulate what you're feeling, some of the symptoms you've got, your frustrations and worries and concerns, okay? If instead that you sat down and that doctor did what good doctors should be doing, which is listening, questioning, and repeating back to you what they think they've understood, then they might do some tests, give you some clarity, build a case for why sawing your leg off is going to solve your headaches. You're not going to be happy about it, but you will listen, and eventually, if they build enough credibility and evidence for you, you will go forward with that operation. Most of you are not operating like the latter doctor. You are operating like the first doctor. You are so desperate to make the sale and you're so nervous about hearing a no, that you immediately start pitching. And you think, if I just have the right combination of words, I'll make a sale here and everyone's going to be happy. No one is going to be happy if you do that, okay? Questions in the sales process are power. The more questions you ask, the better questions you ask, the more power you have in that conversation. It actually works for any conversation that you are having. If you're the one asking the questions, you're in the driving seat of the conversation. If you are the one answering the questions, you are the one who is being controlled in that conversation. Okay, so think about this. What questions do you really want to ask your potential customers when you're demoing them? What would give you incredibly rich insights into their problems, their lives, their frustrations? Because in asking this, you become a magnetic person to be around, right? It's very fun to talk to someone who takes a deep interest in your life. If you've ever been on a date with someone who is just sat there and trying to dig into your soul with great questions, it's very magnetic. And you can do the same thing in the sales process. If you have someone who's ever sold you something that seeks to deeply understand your problems first, like being sold to is fun. Most people think a sales conversation, a demo, is something that their customers suffer through kind of grudgingly, because they equate their sales process to like someone who comes around knocking on your door. They've got a product, they've already decided what you need, and they're just trying to pitch at you. That's not a fun sales experience. That is a sales experience that sucks, and you are trying to slam that door in their face as quickly as you possibly can and get their foot out of the door, right? That's what most of you are doing. Instead, I want you to create like a luxury shopping experience in your demos, okay? If you went into a Rolex shop, you got to book an appointment, you turn up, they let you in, they've got you a coffee, they're making you feel at home, welcome, they're taking an interest in your life, who you are, your name, your job, what you do, what kind of watches you want. You can try them on, and it's consultative. That is a shopping experience that adds many millions of pounds to Rolex's profit and loss statement, because it is fun to shop there and pay way over the odds for that luxury good if you boiled it down to its core constituent material parts, right? You pay for the experience, you pay for the brand, you pay for that exclusivity, and you can do the same things in your demo process rather than being this very, I guess, salesy process where you are pitching rather than clarifying. The questions you want to ask in this process have to do with this fact, okay? The reason anyone will buy anything from your business is because they have a progress that they want to make in their life. Your customers exist in a current state, They have a desired outcome that they want, and they reach or interact with obstacles on the way to getting that desired outcome that either make it painful, expensive, or in the worst case scenarios, not happen at all. And they exist with this problem where they're like, I want to be on the other side of this. I want this thing. I want this change in my life. And yet I can't make the progress. Your product does one thing and one thing only. It helps them move from their current state to their desired outcome. If your product doesn't do that, it's probably going to be very, very hard to sell. Okay. So your customers must have a desired outcome that they're wanting to reach. That's why we always talk about search for the burning hair problems first and foremost. Your questions should get ultimate clarity around the desired outcome that they want. That is their need. Okay. In all sales training, you'll see, or any books you read on sales, they'll talk about finding the need. The need is why they want this desired outcome, what that will do for them, what that enables them to have in their life, the change they want to see. And your questions should reveal the current obstacles that they have encountered, because then you are able in your demo to be reactive to that and be consultative around that and paint a very clear picture how your product moves them from where they are to where they want to be with a minimum of pain, effort, and hopefully expense. Okay. That is your job. You're trying to paint the picture of this progress that they can make. Many of you are doing selfish sales for this reason. Okay. You are not willing to walk away from a sale. You are so desperate for that sale to happen. And you're so scared of hearing that no, because your runway is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And you think, if I just get this customer in, that will cover that bill, that will enable me to employ this person, keep the lights on, buy some food at the end of the month, whatever it is. It's stressful, right? But conversely, when you are that unwilling to let a customer say no to you, you become a really bad salesperson, okay? I've had the pleasure of working with consultants who have done over £1 million worth of sales per year in the recruitment industry. These people are wired in a fundamentally different way. However, what is really interesting that happens with someone who has that kind of hot streak where they are just doing £1 million worth of business a year, they know that their finances are covered, they have more money than they know what to do with, they don't need the next sale, and this thing becomes a game to them, okay? And so they're absolutely perfectly happy to hear no, because they believe deeply in their abilities as a salesperson in order to close that sale. And conversely, when they have that belief, when they're willing to hear a no, they just become an outrageously effective salesperson. They have a hot streak where, because they're willing to walk away, the power dynamic shifts and the customer tries to sell themselves to them. Oh, I really want to work with you because I think we could do lots of business together. They start trying to qualify themselves to you, okay? So you must be willing to walk away from deals. As if you're going to be a good salesperson doing non-selfish sales, one of the outcomes that can happen from these demos and from these sales conversations is that the customer doesn't need your product, is that you can't get them the result that they need. You can't help them make the progress that they need to that desired outcome, or they're not able to afford it, or they can't meet your qualifying standards and criteria. And that's okay. You need to be able to have that in your back pocket, because when that is present, when you are okay with that, you'll become more effective. And I understand, I've been there. It's really hard to get in that mindset when bills need paying, food needs putting on the table, and you haven't had yeses. This is why we love the do it progressions here, which we talked about last week. Do it for free, do it for half, do it for full. The reason we like doing it for selling your first products for free, the reason we like that is it gets you some wins and yeses. You get practice, you get momentum, you feel good, you're more willing to hear no. Then you slowly ramp up the difficulty, but you're already in a hot streak by the time we get you charging full price for it, okay? So be willing to walk away. If you're going to do non-selfish sales, you should be turning up to a sales call giving away money, okay? I write this sentence here in my notepad that I have next to me for every sales call I ever conduct. And I write a very simple sentence right at the top. It says, give $10,000 worth of value on this call. Why? Why am I turning up to a sales call and trying to give away money for free? Okay. It is because in giving value, you build the law of reciprocity. You make them feel like, oh, this person is an incredibly valuable asset in my life. I want to continue to do business with them. I want to be around this person for longer. I want to associate with this person or their products in any way that I can, because look at the amount of value I just got from that hour-long call. Okay. And I think of value on these sales calls very simply like this. Your job as a salesperson is to give clarity on the choices that the prospect can make. That is, buy your product, don't buy your product, buy alternative products, or maybe competitors' products even, okay? You give them clarity around their problems, the progress they want to make, and the reasons why they haven't hit that progress. And then you build confidence in the decision that you both arrive at together on the call that they are going to take. Most of you, and we're going to get into this later, most of you are not getting your customers to make decisions on the call. So you're not building confidence, you're not building clarity, you've built no value in their mind for that call. Your job as a salesperson is not to make sales. I know that sounds like an oxymoron. Your job as a salesperson is to give utter clarity on their possible routes forward, one of which may be your product. And if you really lean into that mindset of giving clarity as value, building confidence by listening and understanding, and then proving that you've understood their points, you will make more sales than you've ever made before. And it is incredibly hard. And I'm not telling you it's going to be easy. It is incredibly hard because it is the default survival fight or flight mindset you're battling with, which is, I need to make sales or as this company dies. But the more you lean into that lizard brain, I guarantee you the less you sell. And the reason you're not going to sell is because you're going to come off needy. Like, no one likes needy people. If you've ever dated someone who is needy, who they want to know where you're at, what you're doing, they always kind of think you're going to leave them because they're not completely confident in their own value within that relationship, right? It's disgusting. No one likes to be around needy people. It's annoying and it drives you nuts. Most of you, in doing selfish sales, come off as incredibly needy on those sales calls because you need that customer. You need them to make the sale because that is make or break for you. And you're bringing all of that energy and you're putting all of that energy on their plate in the sales conversation. That's a lot of responsibility for your customers, quite frankly. They're not in charge of fixing your business in any way, shape or form. Jenny, you said something here. Let me pull up the comments. So Jenny said, I watched a video recently from a salesperson who about 5 minutes into each conversation will say, oh, it's so nice to speak with a decisive person who knows what they want, and was really successful getting their decision at the end. Because you've pre-framed it in their mind that they're a decisive person and they're going to make that decision. I love that, and I'm going to steal that. So great tip. So don't be needy, guys, because honestly, it will kill so many deals in your business if you are. And again, this is why it's important when you really get going in sales. What I will guarantee will happen is you'll hit a blip. You'll get a no. It will knock your confidence. The revenue will go down. Maybe you have some customers leave that month. Maybe you're having a lot of personal issues that are going on, and your mindset will change. You'll go from the hot streak to the cold streak. And the cold streak literally happens because salespeople who are used to selling start hearing no. They start to doubt their ability to be an incredible salesperson and get those deals. They become slowly needier and needier and needier. And as they get needier, they get more no's. And it's like a vicious cycle in the business. So if you start feeling yourself being more needy, you just need to think about ways that you can get quick wins, where you're not challenging yourself for the sale, you're challenging yourself to get the follow-up call booked in, or you're challenging yourself to have them give you a referral or something like that. The small wins, and you build those wins up, you become less needy and you sell more. Okay, so let's look at the 4Ds of effective demos. Most of your demos are structured in the wrong way, and this is why you're struggling to close sales, because you can't give clarity and confidence in their decision when your demo is structured in the way that you pull up your software, you share your screen, and then you talk at them for half an hour. And at the end you go, do you want to buy this? Right? That's how most of you are structuring your demos. What we actually need is a slightly different structure. We need you to have a process that takes them from where they are to where they want to be, okay? And understanding that whole journey. That process cannot be overly planned or overly scripted. I think most of the gold in the sales conversations comes from the first 10 to 15 minutes of that process, where you're having more free-form conversations, and you might go down some rabbit holes with your client when they say something that is deeply interesting. That will give you marketing copy, it will give you content, and it will give you the ammunition that you need in order to make the sale. If you've ever seen the kind of sell me this red pen question that always comes up around the sales training, like most people just go, you need a red pen, don't you? Right? They try and pitch the sale into existence, and it will never work. The correct response is essentially, how often do you write? Or diving into their career, completely sidestepping the need for a pen at all, and discovering through that conversation that they're an amateur aspiring author, and their pen makes their hand ache. Okay, it is in this free form questions that you are going to find all the gold. And I want you to not overly plan or overly script your demos. It's okay to have a structure, but allow yourself to be led by the client. The structure that I want to give you here is the 4 Ds, okay? Define, diagnose, demo, and decide. And these are sections of the demo that you are going to move through. And it's really important to get the first one right. If you get the first one right, everything else follows on smoothly. If you get the first one wrong, nothing follows on smoothly, okay? So you've got to set yourself up for success here. So define, what do I mean by this? Define is you setting expectations, okay? You are in the driving seat for the demo. This is your show. This is your experience that you are creating. You get to set whatever expectations you want. You get to set the rules of the engagement. Far too many of you just jump on, you talk about the weather for 5 minutes, have a little laugh and a joke, and then you get into demoing, and you haven't painted the picture for the potential customer at all of what's going to happen. You haven't said, just like Jenny mentioned in the comments, we're going to make a decision at the end of this call. Okay, you haven't set that expectation in the back of their mind. So maybe they're not even thinking about buying your product, or maybe there's a follow-on meeting. So you are going to take them through what's going to happen. You're going to ask permission to guide them through this call. You're going to say, look, I want to make sure that this is a valuable call for you. So we're going to structure this call in the following way. After I've done this little introduction, I'm going to ask you some questions about who you are, your role, and some of the problems that you're facing around the subject area that your product is in. You're going to frame it that you are going to go and ask them questions. They're expecting it then. You've asked permission and you've told them why you're going to do it. It's for their benefit. You're then going to say, once I've listened and I feel like I understand where you're coming from, I'm going to show you only the most relevant features and functionality on our platform. I'm going to tailor that demo exactly to what you're interested in and what you need. And that's why that first bit of the conversation is really important. And then at the end of it, I'm going to ask you for a decision. What do you want to do next? Do we need a follow-up call? Do we need to show it to more people? Or do you want to proceed with this product or not? It's absolutely okay if this product isn't for you, and I appreciate your time. Okay, so you set those expectations. You now have pre-framed the conversation in their mind. They know what's going to happen. They know you're going to ask for a decision at the end of the call. It's not going to be weird. It's going to be in their expectations. Okay, so the stronger you pre-frame, the more successful your sales calls will be. The less you pre-frame, the more you will be led around the nose by your customers. They'll take you off script. They'll take you into areas that you don't want to go, in terms of maybe you don't get to demo the product at all because they've just sat there and talked about their kind of personal issues for half an hour, right? We've all had those really chatty customers who completely derail our process. You'll be unsurprised to know I derail everyone's sales process that I get into because I don't shut up. So you need to set those expectations, okay? And then in here, I think I'm missing a slide in the define section. You move into this diagnose section here, okay? The diagnose section is all about you getting into their world. It's about understanding, clarifying, and really seeking to uncover that painful problem that they have, the progress that they want to make, and the obstacles they faced. Okay. So the way I like to do this is with those icebreaker sections. You just say, I want to get to know you a little bit more. Who are you? Like, what? Give us your name. What is your job role? What does that involve? And maybe tell us a little bit about your company. Get them talking about themselves, because I guarantee you that's probably their favorite subject. And this can go on for about 15 minutes. Your job in this icebreaker section is all about asking linear questions. Okay. So what do I mean by linear questioning? Linear questioning is just asking the next logical question after the one you've already asked. And I know that sounds incredibly obvious, but it's really hard to do in the moment. This is a skill that will take a while to master. But your job is to just follow up with great open questions, which starts with what, where, when, how, and why. Okay. When you say to them, tell us a little bit about your company and the problems you've had, and maybe they say they're looking for a team management piece of software because their company has expanded. They've now got 10 people and they're finding it really hard to track what everyone is doing and where progress is at in projects. The linear question to that can be multiple things based on your interest, but you could say, well, tell me, like, what's been the biggest problem in terms of tracking progress? Or why do you want to track progress? Or whose job is that to track progress in that company? You get to decide where you want to go, but your job is to kind of be that investigative journalist, right? You're looking for the story in this section. You're looking for the information. You're on an information gathering process that you're going to use later in the demo to align your product with their needs. This is where the sale happens. It does not happen when you show the product. It doesn't even really happen at the end. It happens here, because if you find the need, you'll make the sale. That is the most important thing. I like to ask what I think is a killer question, because this usually just gets them to tell me what it is they want. I don't do this right away because it's a hard question to ask. I like to warm them up with the easy stuff: name, job, tell me about your business, etc. But I ask this in nearly every meeting I'm in. If I could give you clarity about one thing on this call today that would make it extremely valuable for you, what would that be? When you ask that question, they'll sit back, they'll think, and you are going to zip it. You're going to shut your mouth and you're going to wait, and it's going to feel awkward. But you let them speak first, because they're kind of deeply searching through their thoughts and feelings. And what they are going to bring back up is probably the thing that you're going to need in order to make that sale. It might be around price. It might be around capabilities, features, functionality, how it works, case studies. I don't know. It's always different, and it's based on the kind of concerns that they're bringing to the call. The reason you want to ask this, again, I said you want to be okay with hearing a no. This is seeking the objections that you're going to get later, embracing the fact that you are going to get a no. Well, you can absolutely practice this as you go, and it should be, do this in meetings, do this in your one-to-ones, do this in everyday conversations, in your networking events, etc. If you're asking questions, people are feeling good speaking with you because they get to say the thing that they really want to say, and you will get a lot of results and a lot of business out of it. Okay. The key skill here, and the reason we kind of have this reflection point at the end of this exercise, is you should be periodically in the conversations reflecting back to them that you've understood what they've said. Okay. So you literally just repeat back the words that they've said to you, and you say, if we go back to that fast growing company example where they've got the 10 people, you say, okay, so what I've heard is your company's gone through a significant period of growth. You've got more people in the business than you've ever had before, and things aren't getting done because you can't track where projects are at. Am I getting that correct? Have I left anything out? And in reflecting, in repeating back, we talked about the value in the call is the confidence. The confidence skyrockets because you're like, oh, they actually did listen to me. They do understand. And you position yourself as the guide rather than the person opposite the table pitching them. Okay, so it's imperative that you reflect back what you've heard to them. Once you've done that, once you've clarified their problems and everything that they're wanting to get out of this. This is when we get into the demo. Okay, it doesn't happen till like halfway through the call if you're doing this really right, and that's when you then show them your software. Okay, show them the thing that you're building. This is a little sneak peek of some of the software we've got coming out for the 100 Club. But you walk through, and your job here is to ping off light bulbs in their head by repeating back what you've heard as you demo features, functionality, and give them facts about your product. Okay, you weave in stories and case studies that you know aligns with the problems that they face. Okay, you align your features with the progress they want to make, the desired outcome that they want to get. Okay, so this demo has to be reactive. That's why I don't want you to have it too scripted. And then finally, the thing that I know you are all doing, because it feels awkward and it feels scary, because you're like, if they say no, this call was wasted. It's not. Okay, if you're doing the questioning part right, you've just gathered a load of customer insight anyway. This was a great meeting for you. It's probably giving you new content and marketing ideas. You are going to decide by seeking rejection. You're going to go for the no's. Most founders, when I mentor them, they have deals that I know is dead, right? That deal is stone cold dead, and they're flogging a dead horse, and it's going on for months. And the reason it exists so largely, like looms so large in their mind, is because they didn't seek rejection. They didn't seek the no on the call. They just left it. And then they go, yeah, they said they were definitely going to follow up on that proposal. They're definitely booking that meeting, and they just got a holiday, or they got a budget to sign off. And I'm kind of there 3-6 months later, kind of still going, we just need to forget about this. Like there's plenty of other fish in the sea kind of thing. You must seek rejection. You must seek the no, because your job as a salesperson really is to move through those no's until you get to the core objection. If you are a fan of Shrek, you know, he talks about being like an onion with layers. That is the job of a salesperson, is to peel back those layers of that onion and find the very core objection, which is usually down to two things. Either they just can't afford what you do, or they don't really believe that you're going to get them the desired outcome. It's usually one of those two things. Things like, I don't have time for this right now. This isn't a priority. We'll get back to you in a few months. You know, those are just objections that you need to handle. So Jenny says, can you give an example of a question you would seek rejection? So you're going to ask them for the next step. Okay, you're going to try and close them. You get a rejection when you try to close someone. So there's different types of closes that you can do. You could say, if you're really feeling like the demo went well, they're really happy, you're like, okay, so next steps for this would be we'd onboard you as a customer, and it takes about a week. We're going to need to get your data. We're going to need to sign a data protection agreement and sign you up and send you your first invoice. It's going to be £2,000. Are you happy to proceed with that? That's an assumptive close. You've assumed they're going to say yes. It's a very kind of ballsy move, let's put it that way, but it can really kind of be highly effective. If they have a no in them, if they have an objection that's still on the table, they'll just say no. They'll give you one, they'll throw out one of those objections, and then you handle that objection in a really specific way. You just ask them another question. Okay? So if they say, I'll give you an example. I had a coaching call yesterday, and one of the objections that the founder got was, his business helps companies fix their employee experience. And he got the objection where they said, before we go on your program, we love it, we like the price, we like what it's going to get us, yes, but we think we need to do some work internally to fix things before we go in this process. And he got it wrong. He started immediately trying to like kind of horse trade with them and say, well, no, this thing will do this, Never works. The way you handle that objection is you just bat back a question. Remember, whoever's asking the questions has the power. And you say, well, look, I'm just curious. You said you like it. You said you like the price. And you know that this gets you the outcome that you want. But you've said to me that you need to do some work first. I just want to understand, what work do you need to do? And then they have to start explaining their position. And as you start doing more and more linear questioning, you're going to realize, and they're going to realize, that position is complete bullshit. They don't believe that in any way, shape, or form. They've just thrown an objection out of you because it's probably something to do with money or their belief that you are going to get them the result that you've promised them. And this is the peeling back of the layers, right? So you continually seek that rejection, seek the no. And when they give you the no, you ask them a question, a clarifying question. Now, you can play this game forever, and sometimes it gets really awkward. Like they'll just be like, I need to get off this call. But remember what your job is as the salesperson. It's to get them to make a decision. And no is an okay decision, but let's just have an honest no. Okay? Don't say no because you don't have time. You have time. That's a great way to handle that objection, by the way. I don't have time for this. Okay, that's interesting. Like, I'm curious. Like, how long do you think this takes? How much time have you got? Well, I've got an hour a week. That's great. It takes 10 minutes. Like, you can handle those. Are just absolute bullshit objections that people throw out at you. So you handle those with those questions. Okay. You must attempt to close them on the next steps. That's where you'll get the no. Don't let them off the call without booking in the next call, arranging who is going to next be kind of looped into this sales process, whether they want to buy. You'll know based on the conversation where they're at. Okay. It's not always appropriate to go for the jugular and go for that assumptive close. You could do a trial close. You could say, look, based on your decision here today, there's two ways to proceed. We can onboard you as a customer immediately, get you going. I think this will really, really help you and achieve XYZ result you've told me. Or if you feel like you need a little bit more time with this or to introduce your team to it, let's set up the next meeting. How does next Thursday at 11 o'clock sound? Right? That is closing someone. What most of you are doing is going, I'll send you the proposal. That was a great call. See you next week or speak soon. We haven't closed anyone on anything in doing that. And then we get left in this horrible position where we have all these proposals out and no one's getting back to us. And if you have loads of proposals that no one responds to, it's because you're not closing. You are running away with your tail between your legs because you don't want to hear no, right? You have to seek the rejection. Just say it and close them on the next steps. Okay, guys. So I hope you feel like a little bit more certain around the structure that you can use for your demos and the way in which you can start having two-way conversations instead of just pitching at people. No one likes to be pitched at. Do you have any questions about the structure or how you're currently executing on your own demos, things that you want to tweak that you want to dive into now?
You mentioned about that quote you had about, if I could give you clarity about one thing on this call today, what would that be? Something that's extremely valuable. Would you be putting that like at the start of the diagnosis or after you've done the diagnosis? Where exactly would you put that?
I like to do that kind of near the end of that diagnosis process because that's a really hard question to answer straight away. It's why I also like to delay asking why questions as long as I can. It's the same thing. Both of those questions will have them physically sit back in their seat and you'll probably see them go, they'll do something like that. Because it requires thinking before, like a question like, what's your name? They know it, okay? So I like to warm them up with the easy stuff, do the linear questioning. They then start to form the opinion of like what they really want. And then when you ask it, they're able to say it. If you just go straight, if you just open the call and you're like, what would make this really valuable? They're like, oh, I don't know, man. Like, nice to meet you. So you got to be careful with that, right? But 15 minutes in, great point to chuck that question out. And it will close you sales. It will really close you sales because it's a powerful question to ask. And look, and it's not just for sales meetings, by the way. Like you can do it in investment meetings. You can do it in your one-to-ones with your team members when you have them. Like I love it. I stole it off my coach, so I didn't come up with it. But since I've started using it, I've made more sales. Okay, guys, thank you very much for your time again today. I hope this was helpful.